This is the simply named Youkoyi LED photography light. It costs £60 on Amazon, and the question we want to know is, what does it do and is it any good? So Youkoyi are better known on Amazon for producing household LED lights, and inside here is what looks like their first attempt at producing a light specifically for photography. Now it comes in this quite nice fitted case. There is a remote control, which we'll talk about a bit later, and then the light itself, which I've turned on before I put it in the bag. So first up, what is it? Well, it's an LED strip light. Inside here are two sets of LEDs. One is tungsten balanced and the second set is daylight balanced. Now there are controls for the color temperature and for the brightness of the LEDs, so that you can get any color temperature apparently between 3000 Kelvin and 6000 Kelvin. So covering everything from a dark tungsten right up to very bright daylight conditions. Obviously what it does is it combines the two LEDs to create the different color temperature. So when you're at 3000, it's using just the tungsten set, and when you're at 6000, it's using just the daylight set. And then all the values in between, it adjusts the strength of the two to balance them to get those other temperatures. And there are 7 temperatures in total. Now it also has a super bright mode, which turns on both of the LED strips and it puts them up to its maximum value of brightness, and that has a color temperature of 4500. In terms of construction, this is just pure plastic, and it's very thin plastic. It seems sturdy enough, but it's not overwhelmingly reassuring, particularly for a sort of £60 price point, but we'll come on to that a bit later. This orange handle is doing it no favours. It looks like something you'd keep in the back of a Vauxhall Cavalier in the 1980s, just in case you broke down and had to flag down help at the side of a motorway or something. But in terms of its construction, it seems quite well made, well put together, although it, like I say, very light, very plastic. There's no real creaks or anything though. It seems solid enough for what it is. On the side here is a micro USB charging socket, and a micro USB lead is included for charging. Now it charges the 5200 milliamp hour internal battery, which is housed in the handle here. They claim that when you're using the super bright mode, this battery will power the lights for 4 hours. Now I haven't tested it for 4 hours, but I have tested it for over 2 hours. So somewhere between 2 hours and 4 hours, the battery will die. If you want my opinion, that's absolutely fine, particularly as it takes around 4 hours, 5 hours to charge the battery, and obviously you can plug it in and charge sort of whilst you're shooting. So no huge problem there in terms of power consumption. On the bottom, we have one of the few metal components. It's actually a brass tripod screw. So that's really good. It means you're going to be able to put it on a tripod, maybe even put it on a boom arm for doing some overhead lighting for a video, or you can just put it on a little tabletop tripod so that you can use it whilst you're shooting a YouTube video, such as this one. Then there's this, the remote control. Very small, very light, very cheap feeling, very plastic. What I'm going to do now is turn the main studio lights off, and I'll turn this light around so it's facing me, and I'll show you just what the light is like coming from it and what the power is also like, what the power output's also like. Okay, so the light is currently off. I am shooting at ISO 200 on the GH4. It's in daylight white balance. Let's see what it does when I turn the lights on. So I don't know if you're going to be able to pick that up, but that now is, it's now set to tungsten and it's on its lowest brightness. So that's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And the light is literally an arm's length away. So you're looking at around, I don't know, maybe around 60 centimeters, maybe 70, something like that away from my arm. I'm going to have to measure my arm after this, aren't I? So that is the tungsten color temperature and it's set to its maximum brightness. Now let's take it up to daylight white balance. and that is daylight white balance at its maximum brightness from around 60 centimeters away. So a bit closer now, and again, it's not really kicking out enough power. I think if you had a second one this side, you could create, you know, an okay dramatic lighting effect, but it's not hugely bright. Now let's put it in the super bright mode, because bear in mind at the moment it's only using one set of the LED lights that are in there in this mode. So turn on super bright, and that's significantly brighter. So that again is at arm's length away from me, and that is brighter. It's not a bad color temperature either. It looks quite nice. It should be 4,500 degrees Kelvin on that now. So what I've found this light is actually most useful for is this kind of thing, just moving the light around the subject and creating sort of different dramatic lighting effects, and its handle and shape make it great for doing that kind of thing. Very flexible, and it's easy to maneuver around. Now I've used this on some product videos that I've shot, notably the Panasonic 8 to 18mm lens, where I just was zooming in on the camera and doing different reveals and stuff around the lens and bringing the camera and lens in and out of the light. So that is quite simply the Youkoyi LED Striplight. So what do I think of it? First off, the build quality is not great. I've had it for a few months now, and it's been thrown around a little bit and it has survived. I'm not sure how long the plastic is gonna hold up to regular use outside the studio, but in a studio environment for product shots it seems okay. Now it's obviously going to draw comparisons with things like the Wescott Ice light, and it's nowhere near up to, you know, that kind of quality. I think there's another version of this due out soon or on the way, which will be a little bit more expensive but will add some additional features. So we might be looking at that in a few weeks time and seeing whether there have been any big improvements made. So power, it's not hugely bright. The color balance in the super bright mode of 4,500 isn't ideal, but if you're just shooting a subject in isolation with no other kind of lighting sources, then you should be all right. Or if you can match your other lighting sources to the same color temperature, then it will act as a nice fill light. On its own, it's really going to be for very close-up work, so that kind of limits its use for portraiture really. But as I said, in the studio, it's a very nice, useful light to have around. It's portable, and you really can maneuver it and get it in the correct positions, especially with that tripod thread on the bottom. You can put it on a magic arm, on a clamp, or on a tripod and position it exactly where you want it. And for that, it's quite a nice little light. So the price, personally, I think it's 10, 15, maybe even £20 too much for what you're getting here. I think it's a bit too much to ask £60 for this product. That said, things on Amazon do change price quite frequently, and it wouldn't surprise me if we saw this kind of being reduced in the future, particularly if they do bring out a second version of it. So overall, it's a nice product for studio photography. I wouldn't necessarily be using it for portraits. It's just not powerful enough. I don't think it's powerful enough to use outside, certainly not on a bright day. Might be quite a useful fill light for shooting indoors, but don't expect too much of it. And its price is reasonable when you compare it to something like a Wescott Ice light or something like that. However, I just feel for the construction, it's a little bit too much still. But do look out just in case it drops or there is a special Amazon offer on it or something like that. So that's it, the Youkoyi LED photography light. I'm now off to land some aircraft nearby, and if you found this video useful, then just take a second to do that thing down there below, and please hit subscribe because we've got lots more of these type of reviews coming up, as well as first looks, first locks, and all the latest photo gear news.